This is my Art of the Week, week 12. I hope that you're all well and enjoying the sunshine. It's a beautiful day when I'm looking out of my from my desk. It looks lovely out there, although it was raining earlier in the day, so you can never tell what the weather's going to be like here. So I'm hoping that everything's going well, that you're all accessing Showbie, that you're enjoying my Art of the Week. So there is a piece of work that we're all looking at now. It's by an artist. Her name is Zema Palad. She is Israeli but lives in America. And I wondered if you could firstly find out what she's made her artwork with, and then think also about what she might have called it. I'm just going to read you a little quote as to how she feels about art. She says, "Where I'm from, the journey, the places I'm going, and the place I was born are all part of the narrative of my work. You can't separate the work from me, it's very personal. There are also non-personal elements that allow a wide public to engage with it. But you can really see the mark of Zema in it. It's me, it's my language, the language I use to express myself, my voice. For me, it is the only way to make art." So that's what she says about her work. Maybe you could think about a quote, or you could think a quote up for how you feel about what you do. You might feel very strongly about certain things that you are good at or that you enjoy doing. Maybe you could think about making a quote about how you feel about what you do. Okay, so the next slide is my Art of the Week, and it's by an artist. Her name is Varvara Stefanova. She is Russian, and she made this piece in 1923. And I'm going to read you a little story about the work. So the story is Comrades. "Stay still, Alexandra. Stop laughing, or I'm going to stick this pin in your neck." Varvara balances on a stool, gripping a sheet of red paper in one hand and a pin in the other. She is trying to attach the red paper to a white piece that's pinned around her husband's neck. He stands like a mad magician, staring ahead, both arms outstretched. His face is serious, but his shoulders tremble with laughter. The piece of paper, a sewing pattern that Varvara has cut out, falls to the floor. "It's hopeless." She's giggling too now. "Pull yourself together. Imagine you're listening to a rousing speech by Comrade Lenin." Varvara, or Varvara Stefanova, to give her full name, is designing clothing for sports. It's a completely new type of sportswear. Not white and boring and respectable, like the summer clothes that well-off people wear. No, Varvara's design have strong, colourful patterns that will be like a moving picture when athletes run and jump. Bold red, white and black stripes, a red star, like flags fluttering in the wind, inspiring the spectators. Her husband, Alexander, is also an artist. He's designing posters, pamphlets, books, all kinds of things that are needed for Russia's revolutionary government. When people ask what he's doing, he explains, an engineer works with machines. An architect works with concrete, steel and glass. Artists are working with shapes, colours and lines to construct a new world. Varvara agrees. Today, she says, we artists no longer work all on our own, drawing and painting in our studios. We work alongside designers, architects, engineers, teachers, leaders of the people. We are all striving towards the same goal, helping to construct a modern nation. It's time to stop using the old-fashioned word artist. We are all constructionists. Stefanova met Alexander when they were students at art school in the city of Kazan. At that time, they both wanted to be painters. Both of them came from poor families, and it was a great achievement to win a place at Kazan Art School. There was an exciting, turbulent time in Russia. The age-old style of government, with the Tsar or the Emperor at the top, had not adapted to the modern world of factories and cities. A revolution is coming, people whispered. By 1917 they were shouting, the revolution is here. Stefanova and Alexandra were on the side of the revolution. Its leader, Lenin, proclaimed that Russia was now a new nation where everything would be done differently. Factories and farms would belong to the workers, not the bosses. No one would have to pay to go to school or see a doctor. Before the revolution, activities like playing sports and going to the theatre had been just for a few people who could afford them. Now they would be for everyone. Vava remembers arriving in Moscow for the first time before the revolution. She remembers the deep echoing song of the bells ringing from church towers with their golden domes. Today there are no church bells. Instead, in the streets there are voices booming through megaphones, making speeches. Comrades, comrades! There is so much hope that there is fear too. Away from Moscow, in other corners of the old Russian Empire, the Red Army is fighting a civil war against the so-called White Russians, who oppose the revolution. Soldiers are constructing a new world with guns, killing the enemies of the change. Vaya glances at the drawing she has made for the sportswear. Red, white, lively, stirring patterns. The artist's way is better. Art is a noble calling, her professor at art school used to say. She could tell that he didn't really expect her or the other girls to become professional artists. He probably expected that they would get married and perhaps do a little bit of painting in their spare time. How different it is now. The leaders of the revolution say that everyone is equal. This means that a woman artist is respected as much as a man. All that matters is producing something useful. Clothes for the workers, fabrics printed with patterns that are sharp and bright as new ideas. At last she's pinned all the bits of paper costume together. She will have to make some changes to the white V-shape before she gives it to the dressmaker to sew together. Eventually the fabric will be printed in a factory. Thousands of tunics will be produced. Alexander, meanwhile, is setting up his box camera. This is his latest enthusiasm. A camera is a machine, he says. I make photographs. With it, the same way machines in factories make useful things, like guns and tractors. All right, Alexander. Vava smiles, her camera smile. Make me look as beautiful as a tractor. Okay, so that's the story. So she was making or designing sportswear. So perhaps you could think, because now is sort of the time for when we would have had sports day. So perhaps, although we can't do that this year, perhaps you might want to think about designing your own sportswear. So maybe some shorts with a design and a t-shirt, or leggings, or even designing some trainers that are going to make you run that much faster. So perhaps you would enjoy doing that. So my next piece is a sort of school of art called the Cubists. In Cubist artworks, people and objects were shown from several angles at once, and I have shown you work like this. I think I've shown you Georges Braque's work, and I've also shown you some of Picasso's Cubist work, because they were actually the ones who started it. But this is Diego Rivera's work. It's called A Young Man in a Grey Sweater. He was very influential upon the work of Frida Kahlo. They were married, and so he was he did lots of murals, so lots of paintings outside, big large projects, but this is a particular piece that he was working on in a Cubist style. So the light, shadows and colours and space in the paintings combine in an image that seems fractured or broken. So Diego Rivera used these techniques, which have been pioneered by Pablo Picasso and Georges Braque, to make a portrait of Jacques Lipchinsk, his friend and fellow artist. Even though the portrait doesn't look exactly like Lipchinsk, we can recognise details of the face and body in it. So perhaps what you might want to do is to think about making a Cubist portrait, and you could make a Cubist portrait of yourself or a member of your family or a friend. So what you need to do, the materials you need are some white paper, some pencils and some coloured pencils, and possibly some clear address labels if you've got any. But it doesn't matter if you don't have, because you can always use a pair of scissors. So ask a friend or family member to be your model, or draw someone from memory. Make a few practice sketches of your model's face on paper. Then cut the clear sheet of labels into 4 sections. Use 3 of them to draw your model's face from 3 different points of view. Front, right side, left side, with each point of view on each sheet. Peel off the labels and then combine them on your paper to create a single mixed up portrait. So what I think you could do is, actually, to make it easy, you don't really need the labels. What you could do is to cut a piece of paper into 3 and then draw your model's face on different points of view. So from the front, from the right hand side, or from the left hand side. And then when you can then get a glue stick and then put your pieces together, and you can sort of put them together in a sort of cubist way, so cutting bits out and slotting them together, and see what you can create. So would love to see those cubist portraits of yourself or a family member. So perhaps you could send whatever you do to me, or email to the office, or even drop it into school if you're passing the school. That would be great. And look forward to week 13, when we'll be doing Art of the Week, and enjoy doing what you can with those ideas this week. Okay, see you next week.